October Red Boxing back again with the lovely Eddie Hearn. Thank you very much for giving me 2 days. I feel very, very grateful.
No problem. I see you taking your shoes off as well. Is this a ritual?
Yeah, it's a ritual. We're gonna dance around on here in a bit.
Are you interviewing me or
Well,
everybody?
see, that could go left.
Yeah.
That conversation could go left. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to ruin it.
Good idea.
Right. What I'd like to ask you, or what I'd like to talk to you about, because, like I said, it's a conversation. I didn't get to speak to you after AJ had his fight. And I just want your thoughts on it, really, because it was a roller coaster from in the ring to obviously what happened afterwards. So just your words, really.
Firstly, he puts a lot of pressure on himself. You know, he's a winner. And when he lost the first Usyk fight, for 11 months, he's been gearing up in his head about winning the rematch. Put a lot of work in, a lot of time, you know, nearly a year of his life, really. And when he couldn't find victory, there was a huge amount of frustration. I think couple that with the pressure that he's under in day-to-day life. And, you know, sometimes people think that just because you got money and just because you got world championship belts and you got a load of cars and, like, you got fame, that there's no pressure. And you often hear people that actually haven't achieved much saying, well, you don't know what pressure is. The reality is that success and achievements bring more pressure, right? But everyone's pressure's threshold is different. You know, I think I might have talked about it to you or someone yesterday, where someone could take more pressure. And I think he's a guy that can actually take a lot of pressure, but eventually you get to a level and something snaps or something. And that was really what I think happened. It was a culmination of the pressure of wanting to win, the pressure that he put on himself to perform, the pressure of being this guy, this ambassador, this role model that gives everybody his time, photos every day, talking to people every day, being that guy, and then just eventually you know, why couldn't I win? Like, it was like, and then I think, you know, the tears at the press conference was just like, you've seen almost like it's out now, you know, and I think it was good for him because I think you can't just hold it in all the time if you're under pressure, and that's what he's been doing. And I think when he let it out, he probably felt good and felt a little bit of a release to say, okay, like, people get it now, and the support's been amazing because for all the trolls and stuff like that, a lot of people look at that and go, oh, he's struggling. Do you know what I mean? And no one likes to see that, especially when you've got someone with a good heart. So that's how I saw it. But really comes down to gutted to lose, you know, and that's what he's a competitor and he hates to lose.
We saw that frustration, but I'm going to flip it on its head. AJ can give us his, you know, his words in his time. You're his promoter. You've been there from day one. I remember, you know, him coming out of the Olympics and sat in the office with his slim, you know, gaunt-looking self, signing that contract. You've been with him from day one. You've watched him get the titles. You've watched him knock people out. You've watched him grow as a fighter. You're sat there ringside and you know what this means to him. But what does it mean to you?
Well, it's like, it's sport, you know. So, and sport is such a massive part of our life. You kind of, it reflects so much on business and everyday life, and it's competition, right? So when I'm watching it, I'm looking at it. Obviously, I have the emotion of a friend and someone that I've worked with for a long time, and I've got the emotion of wanting to win, right? I've got the emotion of what it means for the business, you know, what it means for him personally, 258, like, but really it just comes down to watching sport and wanting your team, your guy to win. So, but it means more when the relationship's closer. And that's the same for a lot of fighters that we've worked. Sometimes you'll see me jump in the ring and go mental. That's because I'm very close to that fighter. You know, yeah, so like I'll still get in and celebrate with a fighter, but obviously if you don't have that personal relationship, maybe it's not the same way. So at the end of the 9th round, I was running. I ran round to the other side of the ring. I was like screaming because I thought we're going to win this fight. And obviously it didn't play out like that. But I also understand the pressures that he's under, and I've seen his life change so immensely over the last 10 years, really, 9 years from when he turned pro. And it's not always as pleasant as people think, you know. Like, there's a lot to be said about living an easy life. You know what I mean? And people are never happy, are they? You know, if you have all the success in the world and you have all the money and the material things, sometimes you think to yourself, do you know what? It'd be easier just to like go under the radar. I don't just stick me in a little flat on, you know, 500 quid a week. I'm good. Whereas when you're in that position, all you're dreaming about is being out of that position and being in this big house. But everything comes with problems. It doesn't matter if you're in the small house, the big house. Life has its problems and life has its pressures, and you've got to adapt to different pressures in different situations. His pressure is not the pressure. The way that his life's gone, the pressure that he could have had is pressure trying to get out of prison, or trying to make money, or hustling, or doing whatever, or trying to make ends meet for the family. The pressures he's under now is living under a microscope, yeah, of the whole world knowing him. He can't move, he can't do anything normal, but he has money. He has nice, but does that really matter? So it's like, it's a toss-up. You can never find the perfect life, but people have just got to understand that regardless of your position, pressure and stress exists in every form. So just because you got everything, don't mean you ain't living a hard life. If you got nothing, don't mean that you got no stress or pressure. Of course you have. So he was under the pressure, and again, it just comes down to threshold. Someone else's threshold might be that high, his might be up there, but when you get there, that's when the implosion happens, and that's what you saw.
I like what you've said there. You've kind of like explained 3 points of view from yourself, which is interesting. 3 points: a friend, the business, and a sporting fan. What did the friend think when you saw the loss?
The friend, like the loss was more like, as a friend,
Yeah.
how much it will hurt him. Because after the first Usyk fight, I met him the day after, and it's horrible to see because he's in pain, like, and he's always, like, when he lost to Ruiz, I remember going to he was in an apartment in New York, went there and he was like, "Hey mate, how are you? Sit down, do you want a drink?" And I'm looking at him thinking, and then eventually I think he said to me, or I said to him, "Hey, come get outside and have a chat." And like, he was like devastated, but he'd never let that out. This time, through that defeat, you saw it come out. The first Usyk defeat was a little bit like baffled by what has just happened. Him, like, I didn't get it right, and I didn't really know what I was doing, and it just sort of passed me by. This one hurt more because he felt like he did everything right, and he still couldn't win. That's why I went up to him at the end and went, "Oh, like, how did you do it? I want to know. I want to know. Why can't I beat you? Because I've done everything to try and beat you." So, and this one was more concerning as a friend because of his reaction. I've never seen him cry. Like, he's actually the last person I would expect to see cry in public, because he's always that guy who goes, "No, come on." Like, his energy's unbelievable. He's so positive. And again, he didn't do it for that reason, but the support's been great, because if you break down and cry in public, in his position, you've got to be hurting. Yeah, but you've got to be really fucking hurting. Like, and but the internet's brutal, but most people know for him to do that, you've got to be hurting bad, So, and that's okay to express that. So I think that, as a friend, I was more concerned with that reaction. I don't really, at the end of the day, sport, you win, you lose. And when it's all said and done, it's not that it doesn't matter, but, what matters is being happy and living life and, being okay. So that's the first concern. Is he okay? Physically, yeah, he's okay. Mentally, emotionally, not really. He wasn't, especially in the change room, and then after the presser, but now he is. And I think because he's expressed that, I think it's really helped him, because I think people understand now that he's struggling, and maybe people, next time they ask him for a photo and go and see his kids at the school and open this and open that, might just go, give him 5 minutes. Do you know what I mean? When he's having his dinner.
We're gonna have to do. We're gonna have to finish again.
You go so deep. It's like a psychology session.
But I enjoy speaking with you. That's why, because believe it or not, I'm learning from you. This is like a lesson for me.
You learn from everybody, and I do that podcast with the BBC. That's like a psychology lesson for me, because I'm speaking to all these people, and I'm just thinking, you just understand. To be balanced, you have to understand where you are and what is going on in your life, in your mind, everything. So if you talk about it, people need to understand that. Actually, you can start to understand it better. And that's the same with AJ. Like, he never really, he's never talked about the pressures, and like, he'd just laugh it off and go, pressure. Like, pressures make diamonds, like all sort of tough guys say. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then all of a sudden that happens and you go, Jesus Christ, I was struggling, and a lot of people, I feel like people do lean on mental health, right? It's real, it exists, but it's quite easy in the modern day to say, I'm struggling with my mental health. Really, that's such a loose term, where if you wake up and you feel lousy or poxy or your mojo's low, are you struggling with your mental health? Maybe.
Or just having a bad day.
Yes, but that's the separation, isn't it, between having a bad day and actually struggling with your mental health. But I don't know what qualifies for struggling with mental health. But the reality is you have bad days, and you're going to have a lot of them. So, and it doesn't matter where you come from. You know, people could watch this and say, "Oh, you don't have a bad day, do you? You know, you're swan around that event. You got loads of them. You got a big company. Of course, you have bad days. It's a lot of pressure. You know what I mean? Personal life, business life, boxing life, everything. But I understand that everybody has pressure. It doesn't matter what they've got. So we move.
We do indeed, and I'm going to have to move this interview to a sharp close. Thank you so much. But what I really would like, and I'm going to get this on tape actually, I'm not stepping on Coogan's toes, but I really would like to have a proper sit down, because Coogan, I idolise him because of what he's done for the sport. People like me wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. But I'd really like to have a sit down with you, a proper convo. Can we do that?
Yeah, we've got a couple of weeks off. Well, not off, but in the UK. So we'll do it.
Hi, and thank you for watching October Red Boxing. Like, subscribe, and tap the bell for notifications. You can also find us on Instagram at October Red Boxing and on Twitter, October Red UK. And remember, at October Red, we stay ready.